So today we're going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. Now on to episode 15 of the series, we are cruising right along, and the world is expanding rapidly. Now as you've probably noticed by the video length, this video will be a little bit shorter than these types of videos usually are, and that's because I don't have a lot of time to post this. I'm super busy and I can't do anything tomorrow relating to YouTube, so I had to get it all done today, which is Thursday. Anyway, if you do enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave any suggestions that you have for the series in the comments below. The two scenarios that we're looking at today have to do with suggestions by you guys, so once again, those suggestions are really helpful for me and it helps guide me as to where to go with the series. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. We are going to be starting off over here in the blue team. Now if you need a recap of the last episode, go rewatch it. I'm not going to do the recap today, but the blue team has been a topic of discussion in the past episode or so, and the main question is, what are we going to do with this country? It hasn't moved, it hasn't done anything. You know, it tried to colonize in Africa, that failed, but these guys have done nothing in this series, and I mean nothing. Like, if you look at the countries that have done nothing, these guys are number one in nothingness. So what's happening? What's stirring up in the blue team? Well, I've seen a lot of suggestions as to what to do with them, but I'm going to be doing the one that I like the most. In this case, the blue team is breaking out into a revolution. So a couple of major cities will break away along the coast of the southern blue team. Alright, so just real quick, let's talk about the history and get a recap. In the beginning, civilization started where these holy cities have broken away. Now I'm calling them holy cities because they are kind of the equivalent to Mecca and Medina, but in this case, it is where humanity stemmed from. And that was the red team. Not the red team that we know today, but that red team wanted to stay down here on the coastal areas and kind of moved around where Oman and the UAE are presently. Now, after a few years of existing as a civilization, there were those who were within this country that wanted to move north and go up into Mesopotamia. However, the current government of that red team did not want to go up there, and thus a large faction within that country broke away into what is the blue team. Not this blue team though. These are different red and blue teams. That rebellion was able to overthrow the red team government, and thus that blue team became the sole owner of the new civilization. So there was a rebellion that happened and they overthrew their government, but from there that blue team changed into what is the current day red team. So there was a color swap. You know, at first it was blue, but then it turned red, and that red team then moved up north into what we have today, which is the Mesopotamia red team. Now during their expansions up north, there was a rebellion down south where the holy cities are, and that rebellion turned into what is the present blue team. So in essence, this blue team is essentially the same roots as the original red team country that laid down here. So with that knowledge now in mind, we understand the importance of these cities. And with this rebellion being funded by an unknown foreign power and rapidly expanding, the blue team is in trouble because they do not want to lose these major cities. Doing so would be pretty detrimental. As they rally their forces, which have not been used since ancient times, the rebellion becomes too much to handle, and outside countries start to take notice and get involved. Specifically, this line team country here will take advantage of a distracted and weakened blue team to get more provinces of their own. This is the same for all of their neighbors as they jump in on this chance to expand. Looking at this green team over here, they get the most land out of it as they now wrap around down into Yemen and cut off the blue team from the Red Sea. As the Holy City faction continues to expand, more rebellions start to break out. This time, one over here where the green team is, and this one is also getting funded by a foreign power. The foreign power in question will remain unknown for now, but do note that they are much stronger than the blue team and are maybe a top power in the world. Seeing the collapse of the blue team and where it all began makes the red team a little bit angry. You know, there's not like, you know, diplomatic ties at this point in time. You know, you don't have ambassadors going back and forth between countries, but the red team recognizes the importance of the blue team and, you know, the importance of the holy cities, which are now popping up as their own country, and is kind of mad at the blue team for not being able to maintain that status because they do have a shared history together when it comes to the peninsula. So the red team will send its own troops into the blue team and kind of do away with the blue team government. Now the blue team is a capable country, but it is nothing compared to the red team, which is a top power in the world, by the way. The red team takes the capital of the blue team and is now taking over all of the Persian Gulf coastal area. They make a series of agreements with the surrounding countries to not expand any further and to allow for the blue team to kind of collapse and fizzle out on its own. But what we see happening here is kind of surprising, as the blue team essentially just kind of merges with the holy cities thing that just popped up. Now there was no official peace treaty to this, and the Holy Cities Alliance will continue to expand into areas that the red team just captured. The red team is taken by surprise and is unable to hold off against the rebellions, as they didn't send a large enough force down south to deal with them. So the red team's army is split into two areas, with about 55% of them being trapped over here on the tip of the UAE, and the rest over here here holding a defensive front against the Holy City Alliance. Eventually, the red team has to agree to peace with this new alliance, as it simply cannot just hold off. You know, their armies are too busy everywhere else. Well, I don't want to say too busy, but they are holding an active defensive front in multiple other areas around the red team. And that's kind of what happens when you get too big. You have your army kind of like centered out all over the place, and you can't really, you know, centralize it like some other countries can. So yeah, peace is agreed to with, and this new blue team agrees to just leave the borders as they are. They won't be pushing further into the red team, and the red team can even have this little peninsula area, which was once the capital of the blue team. The red team sees significance in this as it shows that they are the dominant OG country. I don't know if that's a flex, but they think it is. And now we can talk about the new blue team which just formed. And yes, I will be keeping the color as the original blue team, just for the sake of being continuous. Now, as for the capital of the new blue team, there we'll be putting it right where it all started, in the holy city of, you guys make up a name. Yep, that's right, that's the holy city's name. But this is where humanity all started. This is where civilization started. This is one of the largest cities in the world, but it also is kind of a mixed kind of city thing where, you know, you have a lot of historical areas that are kind of sealed off by the government, and there's also a mixture of, you know, more modern buildings and things happening over here too. So it's a very interesting city, but they decided to make it their capital. And as for these guys, they're mostly just kind of a faraway group that wasn't really too close with the government. They decided to get a bunch of provinces to break away and form into what we have here. But yeah, we have a new blue team here, and their main focus and ideology is, you know, the whole humanity centered from us. So maybe we should be the ones to, you know, kind of rule the world. Maybe we should be a top power. That is what the ideology and thinking of this team is. So watch out for them in later episodes. Now zooming out of there though, we can see that Arabia looks a lot different than it used to look. And historically, it's just been two countries here. Now there is a whole bunch of them. But now we're going to go head over to the Lime team, who was interested in what was happening over here, but they are now going to focus elsewhere. Remember in the last episode, I was talking about all of their sea routes and trade routes that they have. They are a vast trading empire. Well, they want to set up a new trading area, this time close to Korea and China. As we know, they have the Strait of Malacca, but some countries are unwilling to go all the way down there just to trade with the Lime team. So the Lime team will bring their business to them, specifically over here in the southern Chinese country. That's right, the Lime team will be invading them. And I do believe that this is our first major naval war. We have fleets upon fleets of ships crossing over here to a very far away area. Now, of course, we had the wars over here between the purple and blue team, but those were not like major naval conflicts. This is a pretty enclosed area through here, but the Lime team has to send their ships all the way across. Also, they discover the Maldives in the process. But their ships finally reach over here to China and start their invasion. Through the south, they take over this island here and then move up into the mainland. Their main goal is to take out the capital, which is basically near Hong Kong and Macau. So after they make their landing, they will continue to push troops into this area, and the southern Chinese country is overwhelmed and their capital falls over to the green/Lime team. Ouch, that's pretty painful, but not as painful as what's about to happen to them. Remember I was talking about stability in this region? Well, you guys made a good point. If you're unstable, you're also kind of prone to outside invasions and rebellions and all that good stuff. So what do we have happening here? Well, we have provinces breaking away and a little bit of invasion happening. The Lime team will capitalize on this and continue to expand their front down here, all while the provinces of this country decide their fate. Some of them will join up with the northern Chinese country, while others will break away in hopes of embarking on their own empire. We have a pretty large province breaking away over here. Now the provinces over here are all like large, so them combining all together will make up a large country, but it looks something like this. We then have this weird yellowish color breaking away too. These guys are kind of weirdly shaped. That's because the provinces that join them are all scattered about. So let me actually draw in their borders. And then we have an orange country breaking away down here in southeastern China/Asia. Nothing too crazy with them. Their borders are pretty normal. But the southern Chinese country at this point has collapsed, and the Lime team will go ahead and take all that remains. I hate how this looks. I'm going to fix it. But their government will go ahead and flee to Vietnam, where they have their most recent land expansion. And after some time, they will expand this all the way down into the tip of Southeast Asia. So we can go ahead and move their capital. It would probably be a little bit north because that's where the more developed land is. So we'll put it right there. And as for these other countries, it doesn't matter too much. I'll be scattering their capitals around wherever I really want to. So there we go. And the Lime team has a significant colony over here now. This country has become very large, and not in a way of that it has a lot of land, but in a way that it is scattered across the world. Of course, they have their colony over here in Africa, they have one over here in the Strait of Malacca, and now one in South China. These guys are diversifying their trade routes, and they are easily the #1 economy in the world. And all that is true while they only have a little bit of trade route going through them. And of course, they want to fix that. So over the past couple of episodes, they have been expanding this trade route and working on it. It is now officially open for public merchants to travel across. So where does it go? Well, it's going to continue to go down the coast of the Lime Team and straight across into the Brown Team. From here, it meets up with their capital and then goes up north through Bangladesh and around this Bay Area, through their capital and down into Southeast Asia where it stops. Now at this point, there's emphasis to go ahead and connect it up through Southeast Asia. The only problem here is the geography is hellish and the land through here is not developed at all. I mean, like this country right here is basically just a giant rainforest. And there's a few settlements here and there, but that's about it. So instead, they want to work together with other countries in Asia to make this trade route become full circle. You know, you have the Silk Road up here, but you have to go through the Green Team. The Green Team is a pretty hostile country, and some people don't want to do that. So instead, why don't you go through us, where you can spend your money on our goods and stuff, spices? Yes, very good. The world would much rather go through the Lime Team than the Green Team, and I think the Red Team would also be okay with that because the Europeans would then have to go through the Red Team to get to the Lime Team instead of going through the Green Team. So the Red Team's on board with this. They might work together with the Lime Team to help the funding of such a thing, but it will mostly be the Asian countries working on it. But there is a big disagreement on how to do this. Do we A, start from here, which is the southernmost point in the Silk Road, or do we start from the capital of Korea and work our way around the coast? Either way, the end result is pretty clear in hooking up down there. The cost won't be too much different, but the approach is what is being questioned. Korea is much in favor of the one that goes like this, as it causes people to, go into their country, whereas China is a lot more interested in the one that goes like this because it takes less time to travel across it and kind of forces the money to go flowing through their country as opposed to Korea. So yeah, these two have a big disagreement about it, and as you'll notice, they are both a part of the same alliance. This disagreement is so bad that their alliance is broken up. Yeah, it's that serious. So the Square Alliance is dismembered over the fact that they can't agree on a trade route. So what comes of it? Well, the Chinese country will start building a trade route of its own and work together with a lot of these southern areas down here. The main country they work together with is this horrible looking yellow country, and they connect a trade route between their two capital cities. From here, they work with the Lime Team to bring it right through their colony and into the Orange Team's capital. And at this point, you can see where the connection will happen. Korea is very mad about this, and they're going to start to put troops on the border of the Chinese country. The Chinese country is like, is it really that serious? And Korea is like, yes, it is that serious. I'm putting troops on your border. So yeah, tensions between these two countries, which were just allies, are breaking out. Will it develop into a war? Find out in the next episode. Anyway, Korea starts building a trade route of its own, going right onto the border of China, but stops it because obviously those tensions are preventing them from doing it any further. Whereas China will go ahead and start building their trade route out into the center of their country. And yeah, trade routes are becoming a little bit of a hassle for the East Asians. Anyway, we can go ahead and check in on Britain now because we have to do our daily Britain video update. All right, well, it's collapsing. No surprise there though, this was bound to happen. I definitely didn't tease it in the last episode. But the Orange Team will break away from their union and reform their country. A Blue Team then breaks away as well, followed by a Purple Team, a Lime Team, a Yellow Team, and then the Red Team remains in the center of the UK. So that didn't last long, and the Union of Britain completely collapsed, but very sneakily, the Irish will capture the Isle of Man. But yeah, poof. So there's the UK again with all their capitals in there. And that will do it for this video. Like I said, it has to be a little bit shorter because of things that I had to do tomorrow and today. But I thought this was a pretty eventful video, so I do hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, as always, make sure to show some support, leave your suggestions in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.